My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. I must confess, along with being on the Cricbuzz app, I've also sneaked myself a full-page calculator because that is what's going to come into play very shortly, be it here or be it in Manchester, because it's already about the numbers. It's already possibly been about Duckworth, Lewis and Stern with the way the match stands. Let's quickly remind you where we are at this stage of the game, with New Zealand having won the toss, batted first, 211 for 5 in 46.1 overs. Now, there's plenty of you who have been asking, so therefore what happens? Yes, number one, of course, there is a reserve day tomorrow, but the reserve day only will come into play as and when the match referee feels that they've given every effort to trying to finish the match today. And I can tell you, the match can resume even as late as midnight Indian time to get a 20-over game, in which case India will be chasing 148. We've got a few more numbers to throw at you for now. Let's just try and put that in perspective with Zaheer Khan, Robin Uthappa. Maybe, just looking at that initial number, New Zealand will feel they have some sort of a foot in the door based on what they've scored so far.
Well, yeah, I think once we saw the first 10 overs, you understood that this wicket on this pitch, 260, 270 was going to be a really, really good score. And the fact that today now they've got, even if they don't bat out 50 overs, if they go by Duckworth, Lewis and Stern, India would have to end up chasing
237 technically if they played 46 overs.
In 46 overs. Yeah. So that would be quite challenging, to be very honest. Look at that. I think 40 overs 223, 35 overs 209, 30 overs 192, 25 172, 20 148. It'll be a match on our hands if it comes down to any of this. Which most likely seems like it will, because you have to understand that before play stopped, it was raining for a little bit, almost maybe 25 minutes, half an hour, where play was continued in spite of little bit of a drizzle. That would have gotten onto the pitch right now, settled in, and there's no sunshine, so it's been covered as well. As much as there's ventilation, there's going to be maybe a little amount of sweating within that, on that strip. And it's going to be slightly sticky, I think, to bat on, if not too paste, and that cannot be good news for India.
But it's already a pitch that not too many people have been able to read properly, because New Zealand seemed to have decided early on that it was going to be safety first, right or wrong. But what was your reading of that surface from this far away?
I think bat first was basically a call because of the magnitude of the game.
Yeah,
you know, it's a massive game, high pressure game, so you want to put runs on board and then let the scoreboard pressure also play, and the wickets have been slowing down in England, which we've seen. So looking at that, it was a safe call. But I think on the hindsight, it was good for India that they've lost the toss and were bowling first.
Yeah.
So they could take the advantage of the freshness of the wicket today, which we saw. There was a lot of help for seam bowlers. And it stayed through and through the 50 overs. Even the slower one, which Hardik was bowling, was providing enough grip. And then the run rate also of 10 overs, slots of 10 overs, you can see that, you know, they could never really get going until the last 5 overs, you know, maybe where they were looking to up the ante and get those runs. Still, if say Bumrah's 2 overs and Bhuvneshwar's 1 over or so to go in to finish the 50 overs, the runs they would have made was say 20-27. So if the game actually stays the same, it's advantage New Zealand at this stage, isn't it? The only good thing for India is that they'll know exactly what the target they are chasing, and also the fact that, you know, the bowlers have it tough when it's an on and off game. So that might be the situation for the New Zealand bowlers, because, you know, they might come back, there might be a little bit of play, then again they might have to go back or something, that the weather will decide that. But if the match goes to tomorrow, then I think it will be a easy scenario for the Indian team to approach the innings, you know, because they would like to play the full 50 overs. I think full 50 overs, whatever the target may be now from here on in, even if New Zealand has to come and bat those 3 overs and then set a target for India. India will always like that, because you've seen with wickets in hand, Duckworth-Lewis target actually goes a bit higher, and that may turn out to be advantageous looking at the conditions, because Duckworth-Lewis and Stern don't take into consideration what kind of surface it is. They don't take into consideration who are the bowlers who will be bowling those overs, but it's just purely a calculative method of giving both teams a fair chance of having a crack at the match.
But one felt that New Zealand were just a little bit too defensive.
I was just going to ask you to bring up that chart up again.
Yes.
Because if you look at that chart, they'd be very happy with the way they played the first 10 overs.
The third 10 overs is what you're looking at?
For me, the second and the 21st to 30, maybe even 25 to 30, between 25 and 40 is where I think they kind of probably just, lost the plot just a little bit. They went too much into their shell, perhaps.
Especially Ross Taylor, he just looked as if he was just going to play one shot.
So when you look at it now, after all the rain and all of that, maybe in hindsight, you can, in hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? You can think that maybe they felt that the rain would come into play, and so they felt that keep securing wickets was also important in this innings. Maybe that's what they thought. We could argue about that, but looking at that phase between 21 and 40 overs, one felt that if that run rate was between 21 and 30 was 5, and that 31 to 40 was 5.2, it would have been advantage New Zealand at this point in time, for sure.
Especially given the fact that that third segment, you hadn't lost any wickets and they had two stalwarts batting out there. They just not lost Henry Nicholls, and you thought that, okay, fine, maybe this is the time they can repair it. And one of the two could actually go a little hard. Hardik Pandya that time had gone off the field. We're not quite sure. So India was slightly on the back foot.
And I think that might have played on batsman's mind at that stage, hoping that you may get 6 overs of Hardik with someone
Virat Kohli.
Possibly Virat or Rohit to come on to bowl, or MS
or MS even actually.
Might be the case, saying that okay, we may get those 6 overs which you can really capitalize on, and they slowed down in that phase. But also when Chahal and Jadeja was bowling, it looked like they were not willing to take those chances. They were very restrictive in terms of their shot making.
Correct.
Is what I felt looking at the field placement as well. There was no deep mid wicket, and the lengths which both the bowlers were bowling, actually you could have had some kind of pressure being put on those bowlers in that phase. They let the pressure build on them. And like we've always been seeing throughout in this tournament, Williamson and Taylor was going to be the crucial factor. The batting was over dependent on Williamson, and that's what we saw. I think that over dependence on Williamson actually made Williamson more go in the shell, more reserved, more cautious, and that's something which we saw. So that flow was not there, and suddenly he was trying to get things moving and lost his wicket because he was not getting that support from the other end as well. In Ross Taylor, they both were approaching that the individual innings in a very conservative manner. So someone had to get a move on, and it was Williamson who tried doing that but couldn't really get going.
Again, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but in those partnerships, they had 65 from 109 balls, if I'm not wrong. Imagine that same thing being 85 over 102 balls. And this 20 runs to the scoreboard now. They were 211. They would have been 230, 231, 232.
Yep.
Imagine that with 4 overs to go. And if the rain is not in contention, it would have been advantage New Zealand. It's just those 20 runs in those 20 overs that will make the difference if New Zealand don't go on to win this game in this kind of a scenario. If you're looking at things from New Zealand's perspective, but India would be very happy with the way they bowled. If you saw when Jadeja and Chahal were bowling, they started attacking Chahal only in his 9th and 10th over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That 18
They didn't go after him till that point at all. Now, if they took the attack to him and put him under pressure, he probably would have leaked a little more runs, because for him also it's a pressure game. For him, it's also a World Cup semi-finals as much as it is for them. But they were not proactive in thinking about that, and that's where India, I think, have a slight upper hand at this point in time, given that hoping that the rain doesn't come into play, and the rain, the Duckworth, Lewis and Stern doesn't really come into play. then it's advantage India. If it does come into play, I think it's even Stevens.
You mentioned the surface. Just on the assumption that it does go to the next day, wicket will still be covered. What will the nature of the wicket, or what could the nature of the wicket change if India were to come on and chase 46 overs tomorrow?
Well, till the time that seam of that ball is nice and hard, it will not be easy. We've seen it with everyone getting that extra bit of help with the seam. Bumrah's first spell was fantastic. In fact, right throughout the innings, he was making that kind of impact. Bhuvneshwar looked good. All the seamers were building those cluster of deliveries in that just short of good length, which they were able to extract a lot of help from. It was difficult for batsmen to score freely from that length. Also, which we've seen Hardik Pandya using that slower cutters into the wicket, which has been working for him. Those short bounces as well. Everything was working. So that is something which we'll have to wait and see. The wicket has not changed that much. It stayed the same. If not, it will just get slower and slower as the game goes on. If there is more moisture, the ball will stick into it. So all in all, I think the conditions are going to remain what we've seen so far in these 46 overs, and that is something which New Zealand bowlers will be happy with. I think they will look to get that ball up. Someone like Bolt will be a great matchup against this strong Indian batting lineup.
They've got Ferguson back.
That's the battle which is going to define. I think this match is going to be defined by how Indian batsmen face Bolt, and if they see that one phase through, how Lockie Ferguson is bowling, because he was not someone who was fully fit coming into this game. The previous game he had to opt for rest because of his hamstring niggle. Now with the wet outfield, heavy outfield, it actually is taxing on your hamstrings more. So that is something which we'll have to wait and see, how he's dealing with that. But I think the main battle is going to be Bolt and the Indian top order.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, game of the first 10 overs. What happens in that first 10 overs of the second innings is going to decide which way this match is going to swing. India, the top order India has to fire, and it's going to be a battle of the top order of the Indian batting lineup and the top order of the New Zealand bowling lineup. I think if that matchup in that first 10 overs will reveal to us which way this match is going to swing.
Yes, it certainly has. I did happen to mention 46. Well, it could actually be 50 overs because, again, given that if there is no way for them to resume the match today, the match referee could take a call, the New Zealand come out, finish the rest of their deliveries tomorrow, and then India have a full 50 over run chase, and Duckworth, Lewis and Stern are evicted effectively from Old Trafford. But they keep making an appearance, and we know there's rain around everywhere, there's thunder showers predicted, but we're going to try and get through the game with reserve days. Well, let's head back to centre stage and see what our man there has for us. He's always got something, and this one I can tell you is very special.
इसलिए अभी इंडिया और इंग्लैंड फाइनल में आएंगे।
अच्छा,
बहुत खुश है।
अच्छा, ऐसा आप बोल रहे हैं?
गारंटेड।
कैसे इतना गारंटी से कैसे बोल रहे हैं आप? चलिए, अभी आप चिल्लाने वाले थे ना, इंडिया ऐसे चिल्लाने वाले थे ना, मालूम था मेरे को। अभी चिल्लाओ, चलो 1 2 3 स्टार्ट। Semi-final number 1, it's India versus New Zealand, and we bumped into a bunch of one-ticket wonders. People who had tickets just to this semi-final, and India could have played anywhere. Alright, so did you buy the tickets for both the semi-finals or just this one?
This one only. And we were not sure whether India will play.
Yeah.
And it just came as really fortuitous that this happened to be an India game.
Yeah.
And we were rooting for it.
Yeah.
We were watching, we were actually listening to the commentary on radio.
Yeah.
And the commentator was flipping back and forth 5-6 times that whether India will play at this location or the other. And finally this happened.
Alright bro, so do you have tickets to both the semi-finals or just this one?
Just this one.
How lucky do you feel?
Extremely lucky. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
2 semi-finals, one in Manchester, one in Birmingham. How lucky are you that India's playing here?
I'm very, very lucky. I had only tickets for this game, and I was praying like crazy to make sure India come into this game, and the South African result works out in our favor. And I'm very lucky to have that happen here.
Australian fans, but Australia's not playing.
That's right, unlucky.
Yeah.
They ruined it for us on the weekend.
Must be pretty disappointing. You're here in Australian colours and India's playing against New Zealand.
Nah, it's fine. We'll wait till Thursday for the Australia game. But yeah, it would have been good to see him play here today, but that's the way it is.
So when Australia's playing South Africa, what is going on in your mind?
The only thing I thought is South Africa should beat Australia and India should win against Sri Lanka.
So this was just because you had a ticket to this game?
Absolutely, yeah.
How selfish, sir.
You have to be, at times you need to be selfish.
It was quite nerve-wracking. The game went on for too long. You couldn't really understand which way the result was going to go, and it went up to the last 30 minutes or so until nerves started settling down. So, I must say I'm very lucky today.
Yeah, I was just hoping that Warner gets out, and it was a very close match. I thought Australia would win, but yeah, luckily he just lost.
What's your ideal final? India versus who?
It could be anyone. India will trash them.
Which team do you want to see in the finals?
I want to see India versus England.
We want an Australia-India final, so India's the go today.
India-England final would be nice.
Why?
The reason why is I like to see England lose to India.
It's a home crowd. It's never better to come to England and 3 guna laga and वापस लेने का भी मौका मिलेगा. That will be the best thing to happen, right? So it's amazing.
Up until 2 days ago, we didn't really have a choice of venue. Birmingham, Manchester, we were all confused. But now we're ahead of ourselves. We're also choosing our opponent for the finals. We're fair because we all want Team India to do well. But fingers crossed, we just need to get across this line against New Zealand. Keep praying.
I would say that India and ensure, and we want that to happen. And this is Australia, the second semi. Us want India, England.
Danish has got an alternate career there as a hairstylist, so next time I'm in need, I will reach out to you. But yeah, Indian fans, lucky to get there, but imagine the number of Australians who were there. They would have obviously planned, for good reasons, that they were going to be at Old Trafford watching the semi-final between Australia and New Zealand. There were lots of Australians there.
Yeah, there were quite a bit, weren't there? I even saw on television that you saw a big bunch of Aussies sitting there. But yeah, they would have anticipated their team to be number one and up there. But thanks to South Africa, we got to say thank you to Faf and his bunch for coming into form in the last game and allowing a lot of Indians to feel lucky. To be very honest.
At least it's England, because otherwise planning can become so difficult. Yes, it's one thing to buy tickets, but imagine planning all the commute if you're in a country like Australia, one semi-final in Sydney, another one in Brisbane. You're trying to figure out where to go, you've got to get flight tickets, etc., etc. Here, it's just a matter of fine, you've calculated wrongly, you could just drive down, maybe try and get a ticket at the ground.
That also keeps changing World Cup to World Cup, I think. Yeah. There have been certain World Cups where they decided, okay, if India is playing, India will be playing on this venue. If Australia qualifies, they'll be playing on this venue, or England qualifies, they'll be playing. The venues were decided, so that's something which this time around wasn't the case. So yeah, you had to depend on your luck and back your team, and your team also has to live up to your expectations, and Indian team certainly has lived up to the expectation by finishing at number one. So it made a lot of people lucky, as they are calling, but I think it's all hard work of the team which made sure that they're number one.
Yeah, well, it's actually hard work of fans as well to get there from wherever they are. They come from all over the world, but the other people who are working very hard at this stage are people with the numbers. Yes, trying to figure out exactly when the match can start. If it can start, of course, it depends on the rain gods. And if it does start, what are the possible numbers? Well, at this stage, if it's 46 overs, which is where New Zealand's innings has terminated, India's target will be 237, and these are the respective targets, 148 being for a bare minimum 20 over game, which, by the way, can start as late as midnight Indian Standard Time. So they're going to try their very best to get this out. So you'd have to say in conclusion, looking at those numbers, that for a full game, advantage India, any kind of reduction, slight advantage New Zealand, or at least a foot in the door for them.
I'd say even Stevens. I think if if there's any reduction, then I think the game would be evenly poised, because because you're giving credit to the kind of bowling attack that New Zealand have and the wicket that you're playing on today. The wicket that you're playing on today is a little spicy. You gotta admit that Bhumi and Bhuvi bowled out of their skins today, and to have bowled the way they did and made the batsmen look literally silly when they scored only 24, 27 runs in the first 10 overs. But they knew that the batsmen understood that they had to see off that phase, right? And India will have to contend with that as well in the first 10 overs. They have high quality bowlers coming at them. And they have a high quality bowler, like a really quick high quality bowler bowling at them in the middle overs, and that's going to be hard to deal with on that wicket. So it will be an evenly poised match.
And somehow, if you're talking about contending with that first 10 overs, maybe in a 40 over, 46 over scenario is different from a 20, 25 over scenario. You'll have to.
Well, I think if you're in Indian team dressing room at the moment, the best thing you can do is just get a reference point and then just switch off. Because there is no point going on about numbers, okay, what if this, what if that, you don't have to break your head over it.
Yeah.
You just have to get the final target and see how it is, and then according to that start planning your innings, because everyone has played enough cricket to know exactly how to approach a game. But what is important is the fact that how many overs are remaining.
Yeah.
Because every scenario is going to bring about a different kind of a strategy and a different kind of a game plan from your batting unit, and that is something right now there is no point going on about till the time you're not sure whether it's going to be 50 over and it's going to be tomorrow or today. I think the first question is whether it's going to be today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's just time to relax and chill. But it's important that to just see what is the reference point.
Yeah, what a
so
great
these
point.
what numbers what we shown right now on the screen is a reference point. If it's 20 over, it's 148, and if it's 46 overs, it's 237. I think these are the two reference points which are the most important reference points, and what is going to happen in between is just a reference point in terms of moving. What's in a percentage ratio it will move. So it's 30, 35, whatever. But that what is the extreme scenario? 46 overs. 237, and on the shorter side, it's 7.5 per over.
Per runs and over.
All right. So in conclusion, one very serious question to each of you: if you were in that particular dressing room right now, you don't want to turn into a mathematician. What would Robin Uthappa do at this stage in this dressing room?
Well, what a great point, first of all. I think that was bang on for especially the batters, because you want to have as few thoughts as possible, because there will be a lot of chatter about this going on within the dressing room. If I was just thinking, what would I do if I was in that position? I'd put my headphones on, even though I don't have music. I can't access my music because you're not allowed iPods and phones with you. So you just put a headphone on. If you have a book, pick up a book and just start reading it. And I think that's
not even an offline music.
No, you're not allowed to have anything. No gadgets.
Of course, you can have music in the
offline.
You can, but it has to be a separate iPod. It can't be an internet accessible connection.
So I'm sure they must have figured it out.
Yeah, they probably would have figured it out.
Okay, come on. So you put music on now.
There's always music in the dressing room.
Exactly.
There is no chance.
But there's one boombox, I think, where music is played. But I don't think people can have their phones have to be handed over in the bus itself. They can't bring the phones over.
No, absolutely. Phones are gone.
You've not bought a
you got to hook
iPod.
Me up.
iPod without any phone connection.
Those iPods are out.
No, they're not. I have one.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I'm obviously living in
I
the
very
Stone
much
Age.
have one. Completely offline. There's nothing to do with
I'm
being
clearly
online.
living in the Stone Age. I'll have to hook myself up
Okay,
with
but if
one.
you did have a song, what song would it be?
Well, anything that would just take me away from the game. Right at this point in time, I can't think of anything right now. But I've been listening to a lot of trance nowadays, so I think I'll be listening to one of those.
All right, Zach.
Rain, go away.
I wonder if
Taking us back to the Stone Age with that one.
somehow I just don't believe that would be the song to entertain as well. I'm sure
that's the song everyone wants.
That's the theme.
Yeah.
That's the theme. But
that's the theme everyone wants right now.
All right, the boombox. You get the boombox in there. It's common music for everybody. But as far as we are concerned here, we're going to go and listen to some music. We're going to find an offline iPod for Robin Uthappa. And we're going to be back in one of two scenarios. A, when we get to know when the match is starting today, or if we get a confirmation that the match is not starting today, we'll still come back to wrap it all up. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.